morning. I'm Stephanie Whalen, and for a few more hours, I am a member of your Board of Trustees. The pronouns I use for myself are she and hers. My husband Mike and I have been members for about 6 years at UUCW, and I'm also chair of the ROC 19 task force. We continue to monitor the COVID levels in the community. They continue to be high, so that's why we're still advising that we wear masks throughout the building, not just in the sanctuary, during meetings, whatever, and refrain from eating and serving anything that we have to keep pulling our masks down. So please be patient with that. Hopefully things will improve. Reverend D just mentioned that Ruben's under the weather, and that is why the music will be just on video today. We're delighted to see all of you in person at this service. Hello to all online. Wanted to draw your attention to a few announcements. Enter a joy or concern using a QR code on your phone included in your order of service. Reverend D doesn't believe that the QR codes work because no one has ever used them. So she's challenging you to submit a little note today by using your phone camera and the QR reader. You can also write them old school style on a green sheet and give it to an usher, or you can email Reverend D directly. If you're newer here, please drop us an email and tell us a bit about yourself. We'd love to hear what you're seeking. Please either fill out the green form and or email us at visitor@uucw.org. Again, that is visitor@uucw.org. We would love to connect with you. Don't forget to stay after the service today. The annual meeting will be held in person and online at 11:30. Come see who gets the annual awards, cheer on the new board, and thank those who are done serving. We need at least 35 of you to stay, or the vote will not be able to go forward. A few announcements. Note the film screening and discussion Defying the Nazis, the Sharps War, has been moved to Tuesday, June 7th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at UUCW. Please join us. The Ken Burns story of Unitarian minister Wait Still Sharp and his wife Martha, who helped scores of dissidents and refugees flee the Nazi occupation across Europe, is connected to today's sermon. Please continue your learning and up the UU pride. New to UUCW next Sunday is the question box service. You can use that QR code or email Reverend Denise and fill up the question box with questions. You are asked to submit questions ahead of time at rev.cawley@uucw.org, and yours might get answered. What do you wonder about theology, birth, death, and more? This service will be a lot of fun as we explore life's big and even small questions in the spirit of keeping us all curious. Submit questions by Thursday, or email one right now, perhaps.
I'm in charge of clicking all the music today. So if there's a pause, wave to me. I'm Reverend Denise Cawley. My pronouns are she and hers, and until July 31st, I'm your minister. Today, it is poignant that our service, a UU tradition called Flower Communion or Flower Festival, which was invented at a time when people saw war looking more and more likely. World War I had actually just ended, but we know that in Germany and Poland and Czechoslovakia, they were still seeing fascism on the rise. And when it was created in Czechoslovakia, right before World War II, crimes centered around hate were cropping up all over. Today we celebrate the seemingly sweet tradition at a time when a relentless outpouring of gun violence is in the news. It was a total of 12 mass shootings in the last month, but then Thursday, in nearby Racine, 2 more people were shot at the funeral of someone who died by police gunfire. I hardly know how to honor them while making a space for us to grieve. There's just so many. Each day I think I know what to say, and then another shooting comes. As you participate today, please know this is a space to welcome all of your feelings. Today we welcome all of your moods. We welcome your broken heart. We welcome your anger at the 50 senators holding us hostage to illogical laws preventing gun safety. We welcome your fury that incomprehensible laws do not mandate bans or holds for those with a history of violent mental illness to purchase guns, even if they have made threats to use them on loved ones. We welcome your alarm that there are loopholes for those who have harmed their intimate partners to fully arm themselves. We welcome your tears that children are sent to school to practice hiding under desks but cannot ask questions about their sexual orientation or gender identity. We welcome your provoked temper as you consider that we refuse to ban assault weapons and large capacity ammunition. We welcome your rage as you try to conceive why bump stocks that allow rifles to fire more and more rapidly are not prohibited. We welcome your curiosity as to why universal background checks with enough time to complete them thoroughly are not required. We welcome your feeling of hopelessness that it will ever get better. Your utter confusion is welcome too as you try to comprehend why you have to be 21 years old to buy a Colt 45 but not the Colt AR-15. You can talk. I'm not that kind of minister. If you feel fury, maddened, vexed, wrathful, or sullen as you consider that America is the only country in the world having people regularly gunned down at school, church, the grocery store, or the doctor's office, and we never pass meaningful laws to prevent our children from being obliterated at school, your fierce emotions are welcome here. If you feel alone, if your heart is so heavy you are numb, you came to the right place today. If you are irate and need to know how to organize to keep yourself from growing bitter and indignant, you are not just welcome, you are invited to find people here who think like you. If you showed up because you understand that first we grieve, then we organize, well then your outrage is in the right place. You are welcome here.
Gather the Spirit, harvest the power. Our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this hour. Our trials in this light appear all the same. Gather gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit of heart and mind, seeds for the sowing are laid in store, nurtured in love and conscience refined, with body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit growing in all, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun. Winter to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again.
Our chalice lighting words today are Within the Heart of the Flower by Amy Zucker Morgenstern, parish minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Palo Alto. For those of you at home, kindle your candle or chalice. For those here, please join me in reading. Within the heart of the flower, the fountain of beauty, within the hearts of the community, a fire that warms and dances. Within the heart of each of us, a spark of the Spirit of life. Holy, holy, holy.
Come with me as we travel to Prague, Czechoslovakia, in Europe, the year 1923. There was a Unitarian church. Now, the building did not look at all like our church. In fact, it did not look like a church at all. It did not have a tall steeple reaching toward the sky like some churches do. It did not have massive doors carved of wood or windows of stained glass. It did not have a chalice, a piano, or flowers. The church had walls, a ceiling, a floor, a door, a few windows, and some hard wooden chairs. But thankfully, the church had people who came every Sunday, and they were the most important part of the church, because without people, any church is just a building, no matter how tall its steeple. The people of Prague had been through hard times. They had just recently been through 4 years of war. Many people in Prague had been divided about the war. Many had lost loved ones or had been hungry or scared, and even though the war had ended, many bad feelings still remained. The church also had a minister. His name was Norbert Capek. Reverend Capek had been the minister of this church for 2 years. Every Sunday he spoke to the people and they listened, sitting quietly on those hard wooden chairs. When he finished speaking, the people talked a little bit among themselves, and then they went home. And that was all. No music, no candles, no food. Now Reverend Capek, he was a thinker, and he wondered sometimes if there might be something, perhaps just a little something more spiritual. He wrote some songs and the people sang them, and it helped, but something was still missing. The church went on as before. One spring morning, near the end of May, as Reverend Capek was out for a walk, he noticed the birds singing and the flowers blooming, and felt the sunshine on his face. How beautiful the world is! And then an idea came to him. The next Sunday, he asked all the people of the church to bring a flower or a budding branch to church the next week. Each person was to bring one. What kind? They asked. What color? What size? You choose, he said. Each of you, choose what you like. And so, the next Sunday, which felt like the first day of summer, the people came with flowers of all different colors and sizes and kinds. There were yellow and white daisies and red roses, blue asters, dark-eyed pansies, grape hyacinth, pink and purple, orange and gold, all the colors of the rainbow and more. Children helped arrange them and bring them forward to the front of the church. Flowers filled all the vases, and beauty filled their hearts. The church wasn't so plain anymore. They had created beauty together. Reverend Capek spoke to the people, and they listened, sitting quiet and still in those hard wooden chairs. Those flowers are like us, he said, different colors, different shapes, and different sizes, each needing different kinds of care, but each beautiful, important, and special in its own way. He said a blessing of the flowers, which called for everyone in the room to see one another as family, despite differences, and to let the spirit of love unite them and help them live more joyfully. He invited each person to take a flower home with them when they left, a different flower than what they had brought. And when the service ended that day, the people turned and talked a little bit more among themselves. And maybe there was some laughter, and then they each chose a flower from the vases before they left and took it home as a gift from their church family. And each year at the start of summer, they did this again.
Today for our meditation, please take a big, deep breath. Put yourself in a comfortable position. And as you meditate on these images that I drew and photographed, think about how cherished spring and summer will be this year. This poem is by Susan Fear, a poet from the University of Wisconsin. It's called Peonies. The young girls walk by looking like wedding cakes, Art Nouveau vases. They are wearing only peonies. Exhausted from wearing beauty, they night hurry home to pull the flowers over their heads. They learn that once you wear a dress of peonies, your skin is forever fragranced with the flower's operatic sweet sadness. All over the early June city, collapsed dresses of peonies still as rugs incense bedrooms. Wild canaries fly from the dresses' peony-scented puddles and sing about the sleeping girls. Have you heard the peony's glossiola? Have you ever watched a black swallowtail's gold and sky blue pierced wings rearranged by 44-mile-per-hour winds while it holds to a festiva maxima blush peony, all while maintaining all its delicate migrating strength? Have you seen your neighbor, white nightgowned, stop the morning of her death to bring greedily to her face one last time the fragrance of her greatly loved white lejours? Looking at the sleeping newborn in its white bassinet, one would never believe, even if told in great detail, what would happen to that infant during its life. Or if one did believe, one might go mad with fast-forwarded beauty, boredom, and terror. Looking at the tight, small gumball bud, it is difficult to imagine the coming unfurling, the coming foliage, the slow opening beauty, the insane fragrance. I watch the drunk, crazy ants come like explorers to travel the tight white and green globes. The Holy Trinity leaved peony buds. All over the city, around paint-chipped garages, around perfectly painted garages, separating lot lines, tied to dooryard black iron railings on pillowcases and beds, holding up houses in vases surrounding baths. In the convent's oddly upright mangled bushes, under birdbath heavy collapsed bunches, in vacant lots, and reflecting in witching balls, peonies bow with fragrance and all such burdens of beauty. It is not hard to understand why my immigrant grandmothers, both the tall, elegant French one and the sweet, doughy Czechoslovakian one, prized their limonges and cut glass dishes and peonies equally. Why they carried to their American homes the promise-heavy flowers. Why they opened their soil around their new homes and planted all the sweet possible peonies they could find sun for. Nor why, when my mother married and moved to the new wilderness of the suburbs, she carried the newspaper-wrapped dream peonies with her. And I, second generation on each family side, have double-planted flowering Longfellow peonies and Mrs. Franklin D. Roosevelt peonies and avalanche peonies all along my front steps, just so that you, June visiting, might breathe in all the flowers' information. Longevity and mad medicinal genius. My neighbor planted her entire front yard in peonies. In June, I am disabled with the wild, sweet smell. I cannot sleep, breathing in peonies' fragrance. It is easy to understand why people wallpaper their bedrooms with peonies, perfectly preserve them under glass bells, try to replicate their smell in perfumes and house sprays, and sleep under peony-decorated comforters. No dreams are as wonderful as dreams after breathing Queen of Hamburg peonies. After I've breathed in nights of truth drug flowers, ask me and I will tell you about women's body memories, about the slow, moist opening of peonies, the ruffled silk, slippery, dark red petals, the ant-licked open peonies, the wealthy smell of nights of peonies that dream and swell, grow from tightness to wild, reckless, loud, unfurled, dropping petals. Have you ever rubbed a peony petal between your thumb and index finger? It's smoother than magnolia, tongue sweeter than yellow cake, better than any Chinese potion. Put a peony in your hair, you will not be disappointed with the suggestions whispered in your ear. Our reading today is by Langston Hughes in honor of Pride. Yesterday I was at Pride Fest doing blessings with lots of other clergy, and it was a real treat. So many people that we blessed have never had a clergy person say anything positive to them. In a time of silver rain, the earth puts forth new life again. Green grasses grow and flowers lift their heads. All over the plains, the wonder spreads. Oh, the life of life of life. In a time of silver rain, the butterflies lift silken wings to catch a rainbow cry. The trees put forth new leaves to sing and joy beneath the sky, as down the road passing boys and girls go singing to, in the time of silver rain, when spring and life are new. Flowers are the gift that comes after a long winter. I'm not even sure winter's done right now. When I think of petals and peace, the first image that comes to my mind is from the photo titled Flower Power, a historical photograph taken by Bernie Boston for the now defunct Washington Star. It was nominated for the Pulitzer Prize in 1967. Taken during a march to the Pentagon, the iconic photograph shows a long-haired Vietnam protester in a turtleneck sweater placing carnations in the barrel of rifles of National Guardsmen. It was a time when more of what our government was doing was shown on TV. Cell phones would have recorded it today. I mentioned to some of you to wear tie-dye or flower shirts, and some of you did, to symbolize that flower power. This week, we saw funerals of the children who died in Texas. the medical examiner noted how hard it was to identify bodies as the nature of the AR-15, a weapon used for war, was used at Robb Elementary. I won't say more about that because we have our children in the service. But democracy is certainly being blown apart. That numb feeling you're experiencing, that exhaustion, I know I am, that wrenching urge to just give up, abandon politics entirely and just concentrate on your own life, that is exactly what gun rights advocates want. They don't want any limitations on buying weapons and ammunition and want you to feel like there is absolutely nothing you can do. That's why they act this way, to exhaust you. The more ordinary Americans like you feel that nothing we say or do can make a difference. I even heard people say that after the abortion-related sermon I did. Nothing we can do can make a difference. It's already too late. In fact, this week, that notion creates a better political landscape for the next wave of fascism. So next time you think it's just too late, get ready. Tyranny is on its way, if not already here, to control your schools, your healthcare, your money, and your families. If you don't think now is the time to organize, you have already succumbed to it. Tucker Carlson of Fox News said this week, "There is nothing to be done. A person who is intent on committing violence is very hard to stop," quote. He claimed that neither an act of Congress nor gun control will do anything to stop it. In reality, international data shows the exact opposite of that. Gun control is very effective at stopping gun violence. Flowers and petals are so often equated with peace that we have peace lilies and peace roses. It's hard to not put flowers with symbols of love and friendship. And don't forget May Day, that sweet historic holiday that goes back to Roman times when we sent flowers to friends and neighbors. Sometimes this was used for someone who had a romantic interest as well. Leaving flowers in a little basket to give away was an offering of peace among neighbors. We will do that in a little bit here. May baskets are often simple. They can be anything, a paper cone with a ribbon tied, stapled to the top to make a simple doorknob hanger. You could do this. Fill it with seasonal posies and you have a gift that will elicit feelings of peace. I wonder if we all left flowers on doorsteps, would there be greater peace in the world? Would the conversations that follow give you a chance to talk to someone who doesn't think or live like you? My mom says American peace roses remind her of herself. Indeed, she is always trying to bring folks together with food and connections. She emulates that meaning of peace. In preparing for this sermon, I asked many of you what flowers you loved, and many of you started to describe the ways flowers reminded you of yourselves or of your bodies. Some of you talked about funny flowers. One of my minister friends says, "I always resonate with snapdragons. I love the beauty and the bright colors, but most importantly, the humor of pinching them and making them look like they're talking." Laughter is a way to make peace, isn't it? Some folks I asked resonated with simple flowers. One of you who's a mom told me, "I'm going with a plain old daisy. They're cheerful, but not elegant. They are resilient and fairly adaptable, and they are a frugal flower." D. Antoinette Foy said, "I am in awe of flowers, not because of their colors, but because even though they have dirt in their roots, they still grow and bloom." For some of you, flowers are reminders of peace and love they wish they had. A teacher, newly separated, told me, "Roses feel like her symbol now saying, like life, the rose starts off closed and opens with maturity and warmth, but like many things in life, it comes with thorns that hurt too." and anything that interrupts one's peace just isn't worth it. Capek was in America, and he was seeing different elements of these flower festivals in churches. He went back willingly to Czechoslovakia, even though they knew about the unrest there, because he thought it was so important to be there for all the different believing people in Czechoslovakia. And when I say he had a church, the church had 5,000 members. In fact, many of our churches in Transylvania are that big. One of my friends is the youth minister. Do you want to know how many youth congregants she has? Yes. Almost 2,000. The flower is the most beloved symbol for Czech Unitarians, the symbol of various unique beings, flowers, people, uplifting to create a unique bouquet. Parting and being given a flower as a symbol of anybody in attendance who I am expected to accept as my sibling. That is what they intended with the flower festival. That when you get a flower, it means you are siblings united. And we need you to feel united like a family of siblings, ready to defend peace because you're fighting for democracy. I continue to ask folks, if your body was a flower, what flower might it be? If you felt peace in your body, what flower would you gift it? To which I thought, if every flower blooms at a different pace, aren't we all like flowers? Flowers remind us of so many life cycles, don't they? One of you told me, I think a lot of us feel like a droopy Lenten rose. Flowers do not bloom all year. That cycle of hope, that seed planted in dirt, adding just the right water, temperature, and soil to create a plant is indeed a miracle. Growing anything from seeds amazes me. The miracle that I stuck these little tiny specks into the ground and something the size of a grain somehow sprouts, and then I get flowers by July or August. My mind is blown by that. It really is. Folks will add things to make a plant taller, but inevitably it needs wind to keep those new roots strong. Grape growers say that a mountain with hilly terrain makes better tasting wine. The vines and roots need to struggle to become sweet. Yesterday, there were so many people who asked for blessings and asked for ways to forgive people who had harmed or abandoned them in the blessings I did over and over. And I talked to them about that cycle and what they could visit and learn from it, but it wasn't the whole path. Flowers like people can be bright and cheery, and even the best blooms fade. We all have our seasons. This season, we need you to look at ways that peace is being stressed and find your place for what you can do. You might make calls through UU the Vote from your couch. Maybe you'll organize a group of friends to go to one of the next anti-gun protests. Maybe you will call your representatives before you come to church each week. Maybe you will show up with candy and drink boxes where a march is going by and hand them out to folks for encouragement. Maybe you will ask to have lunch with your school board member and try to talk to them about banned books or what the textbooks hold. One congregant shared, when I envision my growing edge or my personal growth, I am a sunflower reaching for the sky, and I feel great about how I look physically. But I'm hoping I'm strong enough to not fall over. Sometimes I need friends to help me with that. I also heard from someone who had had a recent fall and suffered with COVID, my middle has spread, and now I envision myself as a rose with quite a lot of rose hip these days. Flowers are not perfect, and neither are we, but we can look at them as symbols for our nurturing. All this talk about bodies got me thinking, if flowers can symbolize bodies, and our attitude about these bodies we carry in our hearts, can the flower relate to our attitudes about ourselves? For example, how we are in the world often comes from how we think of ourselves. If we have been loved and nurtured, we often spread love and our nurturing. If we have been picked at and picked over, we might feel rejected and then reject others. If we feel cherished, we too can cherish others. You have a chance to practice all that right here. Flowers are just like that. They can be nourished with water, sun, nutritious soil. Some flowers don't care if we didn't want them there. They grow in cracks and bloom anyway. Flowers that are ignored and kept under a rock, they often struggle to live. Poor soil may mean we as people come into this world with less opportunities to grow and thrive than those that are given the best organic compost and healthy water and air. I wonder if our flowers could be symbols for the nurturing causes we care about. Are we going to choose to attend a protest on a Saturday morning or write some letters before meeting friends? Just to be the fertilizer our system needs to keep pressure on politicians. Rob Zimmerman sent me an article yesterday that really spoke to what I'm saying and what we need to do with the flowers. We need flowers to nurture broken hearts and spur us into action. And the article he sent lifts up a Yiddish word, tes broken heart, which means the quality of brokenheartedness that gives strength and healing. It in essence means that we carry our shattered pieces, that tes broken heart is not something in need of quick fixing. So often we want to say, well, that's enough of that. Let's stop the meeting. We have to keep time. Let's move on. That uncomfortable thing that happened, let's get through it. I see that happen all the time when it might be a chance to heal a broken heart. That means we are obligated to gather up one another, to honor the pain. I see you hurting. I want to care with you about this. I need you to take me through that story. That's the work of healing. That's the work of peace. You may wonder, why bring up the sad side of the flower communion? Well, that's the actual meaning from the beginning. And I bring it up because it's part of our history, but also this word, tes broken heart, and we've verified that it's a real word, says let's not be okay. Let's find power in not being okay together. Let's honor our brokenness and the brokenness of our country by finding the collective strength to fight for change. Don't forget that this congregation is a community that needs nurturing too. Good fertilizer. I heard so many of you tell me you were concerned about various things, but you would just wait and see, or that you don't want to be involved in the manure. Indeed, to get beautiful flowers, moving the manure around and converting it into soil makes the best roses. The interim period is a time to dig into policies and finances and look at how we treat people and make it all even better. And so as you pluck your petals of history, you will be looking at the secrets and the stories and the events that created this system. And this congregation needs fertilizer and beds tended to. One of my heroes, Sonia Renee Taylor, the author of The Body Is Not an Apology. I preached on her back in January. You can go and watch it if you want. That was the body image sermon. She discusses loving your body is radical and courageous. I wonder what would happen if our state of peace, if we loved our bodies the way we love flowers. She reminds us, somehow encountering the radical love message always seems to plant seeds whose fruits come to bear, often unexpectedly. Loving your neighbor as family and loving your soul is what Capek wanted as you exchanged the flowers. He knew that the Nazi Party was doing all of that to try to make people feel numb and demoralized. I ask you, is there a party or group trying to make you feel numb, demoralized, dispirited? Dispirited people give up on voting, protesting, and donating. Do you feel that way? I know I do. I'm right here with you. In fact, I was looking at one politician's page today thinking, how could I give him money without them knowing it's me so that I don't have to read more? Right? But that's part of my numbness, right? I could just have a separate email just for those and visit it when I'm up to it, right? I call on you today when you get your flowers to hold them and think about the kind of peace you actually want. Because peace, it's such a nice word we throw around, but it takes a lot of work. And it doesn't just happen, but I promise you it's worth it. Today we send peace out into all of your bodies, and remember it starts with you. And let this be a symbol of the remarkable cycles that bodies and flowers remind us of. Because you, like no flower, blooms every single day. But somewhere, a flower is always blooming. Somewhere. Bloom where you are. Share your petals for peace. Start loving your petals, stems, and roots. And when you honor your own self with love and thoughts that are not at war with your own body, then you too can spread peace. Blessed be, and may it be so. Now is the moment you've been waiting for. We're going to do our flower ceremony first, then we'll do the offertory, then the benediction, and then we'll be done. All right. Each of you have entered our church today with a flower. These flowers come in all different shapes and sizes, just like all of you. Everybody's unique, just like the flowers. It takes many flowers to make bouquets, and we have many here. Just like all of you are all needed to make up this congregation and the specialness of it. And each year with our flower ceremony, we remember Norbert Capek and this creative, loving, courageous man. By the giving and receiving of flowers, he wanted you to know how special you are, and he wanted you to feel like siblings when you got one. So I come from a Catholic background, and something that makes me bananas at UU events is like everyone just sort of like mills around and there's no order. So they rush the flowers and then everyone's waiting and this and it's chaos. So I'm bringing out some of my Catholic history today. So our ushers and Dave and our youth will help us. Youth, who's helping me if someone can't get up and get a flower? Well, hopefully they are. Okay, yeah, got one in the front, great. So if you can't get a flower or don't want to come up or it's, you know, whatever, for whatever reason, just raise your hand and one of our helpers will bring you one. And we're going to start at the north section first, and you all can come up and you can take a flower. Remember to take a different flower than what you brought. It's just one flower, all right? Maybe you're taking a couple, but you know, let's make sure. And take your flower and think about how you're going to gather your talents to change the world and address those things that I mentioned to organize for peace. And I think Vicky's going to play us some music, but yes, you can come up. Lead the way, Stephanie. That's great. Yes, Kathy. The north section first. Yes. There you go. Come get your flowers. And raise your hand if you want someone to bring you flowers. Even if you're not in the north section, you can raise your hands if you want someone to bring you your flowers. All right, the middle section can come. Yes, everyone can bring one. We bring extra flowers so that everyone can have a flower, even if you didn't bring flowers. You're still part of the flower family. Yes, you can all get flowers, even if you didn't bring one. And if you're staying for the annual meeting, don't worry, we have flower babysitting during the annual meeting. So you'll be able to put your flowers in vases and get them back. Or mix them up again. It'll be fabulous. Everybody gets a flower. Okay, if the middle section's done, let's have the south section come up. There's still plenty for you, don't worry. Everybody gets a flower. I could be like Oprah. You get a flower. You get a flower. I'm leaving mine there till after the meeting for the, Are we having the annual meeting there? Oh, okay. We have multiple vase locations to babysit your flowers during the annual meeting, both here and in the community room. So, don't worry. Awesome. Now think about what you can do for peace. Now today I am your split the plate representative. Because I suggested this organization and kind of forgot that I suggested it, but our Split the Plate organization for summer is Worthy Now. And Worthy Now is our UU Prison Ministry program. It's a part of what we term CLF, Church of the Larger Fellowship, has been our mail order only church for ages, and now it's our online only church. They never had a physical location, and one of their biggest ministries is the prison ministry program. And a few of you, I know Ahmad is one, a couple of you are pen pals. Anyone else here a pen pal? So a lot of times people become Unitarian Universalist in prison. Isn't that amazing? They get our materials, they end up with a pen pal. In fact, it's documented in many books the kinds of resonance that our faith had with people while they are incarcerated. And your donations today will be split with UUCW as well as Worthy Now. That's the title of what that program is. And it invites people on both sides of prison walls into beloved community. It's a way to declare that indeed all people are worthy of love and respect and support. And not that they have to wait till they're out of prison to have that love or support. And over what they find is that people who get involved in writing to people who are incarcerated end up feeling the amazing benefits as well. So I encourage you to become a letter writer, but also to give to this program, because that's how we distribute Unitarian Universalist materials. We have to mail them. We can't just email them. They don't give people email addresses. And that's a wonderful way for you to support our prison ministry. And it's just a great program. So I encourage you to get involved. We had a service, if you want to watch it too, you can go on our YouTube. It was the service right after Christmas, and you can learn even more about that program if you go into our UUCW YouTube, or you can look up worthynow.org and learn more about it there too. So the offertory will now be gratefully received. You can also put your questions on your green sheets into the offertory basket, right, for next week's service.
Yeah, no. Blue, green, white is, but.
Vicky's running. Don't worry. I want to thank Vicky and Kelly also for being able to react quickly to Ruben being ill. I said, is there a standard procedure what happens when you're ill? And he said, no.
Thanks again, folks. I also want to thank you for staying for the annual meeting today. We have some fun planned and we'll learn a little. Don't worry about your flowers. We have flower babysitting, so you can put them in a vase and keep them fresh while you're voting. Even if you already voted, remember, we still need at least 35 of you to stay for us to have a quorum. For those of you watching online, the meeting can be viewed online at uucw.org/livestream. However, you may have to refresh your computer screen. After viewing today's service, the meeting will be on a new and separate live stream. Now, don't leave, but if you need a little stretch break, feel free, and then sit back down and enjoy the meeting.
Our benediction today is lovely, and then you get to watch the award-winning Kaleidoscope song right before the meeting. Feel free to stretch and dance, okay, while you're up there. A lot of you might have missed, maybe you watched it online. There was just a small group that gathered in person over Memorial Day, but if you missed the song, they were selected from all these different entries in the UUA to be one of like the featured songs for Reverend Susan Frederick Gray's service. And I send you out with the seed. The wonderful thing is a seed. The one thing that is deathless forever, forever old, forever new. Utterly faithful and utterly true. Fickle and faithless never. Plant lilies, lilies will bloom. Plant roses, roses will grow. Plant hate, and hate to life will spring. Plant love, and love you will bring. The fruit of the seed is the seed you sow. May it be so.
Wanting to belong, so they opened up the door. Watch the spark bring the flame to light. Then they knew at last that they were home. Love is the thread, the warmth and the weft that weaves all the world together. Love is the thread in the tapestry of life, woven through time together. Life full